You have my assurances that this is the Godfather Minute. And my name is Alex Robinson.
And my name's Andy Robinson.
And together we are the Godfather Minute Brothers. I assure you. We're talking about minute 130 today.
Alex, el minuto.
El minuto, e minuto.
Numero.
130. 130.
That's it.
That's easy.
It's really easy.
Minuto
They're all easy from here out.
130.
That's it.
Oh, awesome.
130.
That translates to minute 130. Minute number 130.
Yep.
In minute 130 of The Godfather, the meeting of the six families still rocking on. Week 3 of the meeting.
That's right. They're not allowed to leave for 3 weeks. They're stuck in there.
Gosh. Minute 130, Don tells the commission that he believed and still believes that this drug business will ruin them. But Tattaglia points out that the times are changing and that he has to share the judges from the well.
Yeah.
He also denies any connection or affiliation with communists. And then Don Kansas City says he also is against drugs, but that they've become too profitable to resist. You said, what's the Kansas?
I think it's Kansas City? The Don from Detroit.
Detroit?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Don Zaluchi.
Don Zaluchi.
Yeah. He's the one, remember, that builds the bombs right into the cars.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Detroit is his. So he was against drugs then, I guess.
He was.
I guess we'll start with him since we're already. Do you think he's I guess he's publicly siding. Is he siding with Don? Because he's saying I'm against drugs, but he also seems to be saying that he's pro-drugs.
I think ethically he's saying he's against drugs, but he can't fight it. It's just it's too profitable that he can't not get into that business, which is why in a couple minutes we're going to probably in the next minute we're going to see this whole thing wrap up and everyone agrees that they will get into the drug business.
We will get into the drug business.
And I've got some insight from the book about Don Zaluchi, in particular how he feels about drugs.
Okay. I have some information on before we get to more of the stuff about the meeting. I have some information about Richard Conte.
Who's that?
Richard Conte is the actor who plays Enrico the Wolf Barzini.
Emilio Barzini, right?
Yeah. Oh, did I say Enrico? Emilio. Yeah, Emilio. I meant to say. Richard Conte. He lived 1910 to 1975, so he only had 2 years left after this.
Wow.
When The Godfather the movie was originally going to be made, it was going to be a lower budget movie, and Richard Conte auditioned to play Don Corleone.
Oh, wow.
But obviously once they started getting bigger names involved, and then he got demoted, I guess, to Barzini. So
that's why he's so adversarial to Don Corleone.
It must be satisfying for him to be the one then who's against... So he mostly was in a lot of B movies and stuff up until that time. I didn't recognize any real titles, a lot of film noir type stuff. But
one of our listeners posted a picture of him from some other movie on Fredo Corleone's Mickey Mouse nightclub, but I don't recall what it was. But he was in a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, he had a lot of movies credits to his name. But one interesting thing I've noticed is that. It didn't say anything about him playing a gangster anytime prior to this movie. But his next 2 roles after this, he was in the movie The Boss, where he played Don Carrasco. And then after that, he was in a movie called The Big Family, where he played Don Marchesi. I think he had one more role after this. So he definitely got typecast as a crime lord after this. But which I guess if you're in that line of work, if you're a character actor, you're that's great. I'll play whatever roles they want me to.
Yeah, that's true.
So
and little did they know at that time that mob movies would become very popular.
Yeah,
this is really the first of them. No, not necessarily. I mean, they're in the 40s and 50s, they had stuff like Little Caesar and stuff.
I feel like it's the first of like the modern mob movies where you're kind of supposed to be definitely rooting for the mobsters and you know, and so on. The only other note I had was that when Don, what's his name? Don
Zaluchi?
Don Zaluchi.
The one who talks about drugs.
He says that people, they come up to him with, and they have powders.
Yeah.
That's a funny way of putting it. They have powders. First I thought he said they have powers.
Yeah.
But he's like, they have powders. It's just such like an old school, like way of getting like medicines. Like, I got some stomach powder for you. Mix it up with the water.
This is the world of illusion of Bruno Tattaglia, the illusionist. Magic powders.
Throw it down and smoke comes up. But
oh, that's what he meant. They can make 10 times as much. It's through magic. They don't even sell drugs. He's not even talking about drugs here. He's talking about magic.
I too am against magic. And they're like, magic? What? Oh, sorry.
That's great.
So you want to fill us in with some? So first week you told us about the out of town boys, and last week you told us about the local crime lords. So what you got for us this week?
Well, this week Puzo tells us a little more about all the dialogue taking place in this meeting. Some background information and some insight. Page 284, Puzo writes, so the Don is already greeting them and talking. All of these men were good listeners, patient men. They had one other thing in common. They were those rarities, men who had refused to accept the rule of organized society, men who refused the dominion of other men. It's just interesting to point out that that's what made them, that's what drove them to be crime bosses, to rule their own worlds. Do you think their own bosses?
Yeah.
Right?
So do you think on some level they all have to, I guess Tattaglia, I was saying, do they all respect that about each other? Like they have that in common, that none of them want to live under those pasanovantes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So,
yeah. So Don Corleone begins the meeting. I'm going back just a tiny bit. Thank God my health has been restored and maybe I can help set this affair right.
Thanks to those powders. I feel awesome. Thanks to that massage I got. Oh, Mo Green, he's got a great masseuse. Just, it's not like one of those. Eyes open. It's classy, not like those rub joints you have back home. We made a killing out of Canada. Your father, too.
So Puzo goes on to say later that Don Corleone beginning the opening of his speech, talking about his good health, is a signal to all of the other heads of the crime families that he is ready to continue the fight if necessary. Okay, and that he is strong
by mentioning his it's
like one of those interesting kind of rules of mob interaction.
Yeah, that's funny.
He later says, this is interesting.
Tattaglia has lost a son. I have lost a son. We are quits.
We are quits.
Yeah. Yeah, and he actually says that in the movie, too. I think it was a minute or two ago, maybe 1 minute ago.
He said, we're quits?
We're quits. He says it quickly, and he sort of mumbles it.
That's Brando for you.
Yeah, and I just never heard that expression before. We are quits.
I've heard that expression.
You hear
quits,
it before?
like he called it quits.
Yeah, I just never heard it as we are quits.
We are quits.
Yeah.
We called it quits. We're quits.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I have the annotated screenplay here. I just wanted to.
Well, you don't believe me?
Now you've had your drink.
Do I need to have a court reporter read it back to you? We're quits.
Zaluchi, I also don't believe in drugs.
No, it's earlier before that. It's almost the very first thing he says.
A refusal is not the act of a friend.
No, much earlier. Right when he opens the scene, talking to them.
Oh yeah, Tattaglia lost a son. I have lost a son. We're quits.
We quit, so they all leave.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Oh, forget about it. Hey, get me out of here. It's unbelievable.
Anyway, just want to point that out. Yeah. Interesting saying.
Quits.
I'm always looking for new or old terms to bring back. Just like the remember me to
Tattaglia.
Puzo writes, page 285, what would the world come to if people kept carrying grudges against all reason? That has been the cross of Sicily, where men are so busy with vendettas that they have no time to earn bread for their families. It's foolishness.
It's true.
Interesting callback to
right.
the old country, and he's trying to get them to see that they can be better than that.
Yeah, because as we learned in Sicily, there's hardly any men left.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see.
You think Natalia, of all people, would be like, if all the men die, where will my customers come from?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't need assurances.
Let's see. Puzo writes, page 286. But every man there had noted that he had claimed good health, which meant he was
doing like push-ups and stuff to really draw
Well,
it
I've
out.
been out of the hospital only one day, but man, am I feeling good?
he's in wearing sweatpants. He's jumping rope.
Watch this. Well, let that chicken loose. I want to catch it. Hagen, punch me in the stomach. Harder than that. Come on.
Punch me like a man. Let's see. Okay, so this is Barzini talking now.
You mean Natalia?
No, it was Barzini all wrong. That is all true enough, Barzini said. But there's a little more. Don Corleone is too modest. The fact is that Sollozzo and the Tattaglias could not go into their new business without the assistance of Don Corleone. In fact, his disapproval injured them. That's not his fault, of course. The fact remains that judges and politicians who would accept favors from Don Corleone, even on drugs, would not allow themselves to be influenced by anybody else when it came to narcotics. Sollozzo couldn't operate if he didn't have some insurance of his people being treated gently. If Corleone had all the judges in New York, then he must share them or let others use them. So pretty much...
Does he say a line about communism there?
He does. He's going to say that in a second. He says that, after all, we're not communists. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say that. Puzo doesn't write that everybody laughs at that. But he does mention omerta. Even a Sicilian sentence to 20 years might break the omerta and talk his brains out. That can't happen. So Barzini's making the argument that, okay, Don Corleone said in the original meeting with Sollozzo, hey, you go ahead, do your business, as long as they don't conflict with mine. But Barzini is pointing out that he was condemning him to not have...
his business can't function without.
Yeah, without it. So it's a refusal is not the act of a friend.
They have to let him draw water from the well.
Yep. And Puzo wrote, this is interesting. What was more important was that Barzini, by speaking out, was saying that if peace was not made, he would openly join the Tattaglia in their war against the Corleones. And he had scored a telling point. Their lives and their fortunes depended upon their doing each other services. The denial of a favor asked by a friend was an act of aggression. Favors were not asked lightly and so could not be lightly refused. So it seems like even back then, the world was getting smaller and you couldn't escape like collaboration and interaction with your competitors.
Couldn't be an isolationist.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
That's interesting. Let's see what else we got. Page 287, Puzo writes, he was in effect, so this is Don agreeing to that. He was in effect agreeing almost entirely to Sollozzo's original proposal if that proposal was endorsed by the national group gathered here. It was understood that he would never participate in the operational phase of drugs, nor would he invest his money. He would merely use his protective influence with the legal apparatus. But this was a formidable concession.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, he's back to doing what Sollozzo asked him to do and not even investing in it.
Right. But he must still get money from it.
Well, he can charge a fee for the political protection. They're not communists, Alex.
Yeah. I wonder I wonder how that works. Is it like, well, if the judge gets someone off, it's $1,000. Like, how does it?
There's a whole fee schedule.
Yeah. Like, like obviously if like a big operation needs to be protected, that would cost more.
Yeah.
More money.
I wonder if they all agree to it in advance or if Hagen
I bet the consigliaries, I bet, sit down and
it's
do
a collective bargaining.
Yeah. Or, they just sit down and maybe try to hash out an agreement and then, see if the bosses will go for it. It's like this whole second, it's like a whole second tier where those guys all know each other and, it's like Veep where all like the interns
they're the
all
ones
know
who
each
really
other.
get all the work. They're the ones who get all the work done.
Yeah.
And then they kind of submit it to get rubber stamped.
Yeah, exactly. While Pop's out there in the garden.
Do you think there's a conciliary union?
A union? No.
Yeah.
Because I guess each one only works for one guy.
Oh, each one only has one client?
I imagine so. I think it would be a conflict of interest if you had other clients. You know, I represent the Tattaglia family and the Corleone family.
That's a big problem. Which family at this moment in time? Which family would you want to represent as a consigliere
during the meeting? You mean,
yes.
or in 2020?
No, at the meeting.
I think I'd say Tattaglia.
Really? How come?
He's a pimp. I don't know. I guess it would depend.
I would never trust Tattaglia. Or he would never trust me. He doesn't seem to trust anyone. He's always complaining. Oh, he'd be the worst to work for. He's always complaining. These laundry bills.
Yeah, it's true. But I guess the thing with someone complaining is you know where you stand. Whereas if someone is just silent, you don't know what they're thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone who couldn't shut up because then you at least know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Barzini might be really exciting to work for Barzini because he's got his fingers in, as Puzo wrote, quote, every unlawful pie. By the way, we should mention that in the D&D section.
Unlawful pie. That's the name of our episode. Unlawful pie. Write that down.
You know, because he's in Wall Street, he's in gambling, he's in the Bronx, he's in Brooklyn.
Hates having his picture taken.
Yeah. But it would also be really challenging because he's probably very demanding as a boss. I can see him micromanaging a bit and not giving you a lot of freedom a lot of authority or freedom to make decisions. Yeah. But it would be exciting.
So do you think Barzini would be a more exciting, better boss to work for?
The work might be more engaging, but maybe for just 3 or 4 years, you'd burn out fast because it was just too demanding. Right. If you're interested, I can talk to Barzini.
Woo! Yeah!
You didn't see that coming. You didn't see it coming.
Well, the hours.
Okay, Puzo, in the movie, Don Falcone, he's one of the Hollywood, one of the California Dons.
I remember.
He doesn't speak up in the movie, but in the book, he makes some statements. He's talking about drugs. He says, at least if we can control it, we can cover it better, organize it better, make sure it causes less trouble. Being in it is not so bad. There has to be control. There has to be protection. There has to be organization. We can't have everybody running around doing just what they please like a bunch of anarchists.
No.
I wanted to bring that up because they keep representing all of these alternative schools of thought.
Political theories.
I know. If they originally filmed that, and he said, after all, or we can't have people running around like a bunch of anarchists, and they'll go, they'll laugh, and then Barzini does the same thing, and then the editor had to make a decision: which do we cut? Which is funnier?
Because then does Barzini hear him say that and get a big laugh, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna do like the guy because. I guess we should do this because, after all, we're not the Whig party.
Well, that'd be Tattaglia brings that one up because he's got a toupee. And they're both fitting analogies too, I think. But Don Falcone is talking about the Wild West of the drug world. Yeah. He's comparing them to anarchists, and Barzini's talking about not sharing costs. All right, come up with one more. Come up with one more crime boss. Which crime boss would add a third analogy? It's got to be Tattaglia.
So it has to be. We're not blankist because they're all like anarchist, communists. So it'd have to be like, we're not, we have to derive more meaning from life than just life for its own sake. After all, we're not existentialists. I don't get
it. I was going to go back to the source.
Hey, you all think You all think these drugs are gonna bring good times, and no, I believed it then, I believe it now. It's gonna be the end of us. After all, we're not a bunch of optimists.
But Don Corleone, please, you must understand that these drugs.
Come on, keep going.
Sorry, no,
great.
I got one. I got
great.
one. I got to think of the setup for it. Hold on. Don Corleone, we must keep these drugs under control. We can't just have everyone running around nude. We're not a bunch of exhibitionists.
They all have to go around the table.
Well, we can't. We're not a bunch of Presbyterians. No, it didn't work that one.
I'm trying to think of what Hyman Roth would say as as Barzini's consigliere. So have a piece of cake and enjoy. We are pleasurists.
We are hedonists.
Hedonists. Our rub joints are better than the swankier ones back home. What about Tom?
After all, we're not. After all, we're not cardiologists.
By the way, fly my cardiologist in from Miami. Speaks English. Good doctor. How about Hagen? But I know you told us not to write anything down because of how secret this meeting is. But we've got to make some documents here. After all, we're not plagiarists.
We're gonna have to write these documents by hand. After all, we're not typists. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Well, I think that might be...
After all, we're not satirists.
That's all I have.
1:30.
Yeah, that's all I have. We're going to continue with...
the meeting?
We're going to continue with the meeting because they are going to close the meeting. And we're halfway through the diatribe of Don Zaluchi, where he's talking about how he struggled to contain or prevent drugs from being sold.
Yeah.
So there might be a little bit more about that in the next minute.
Yeah. So what do you want to rate this one?
Let's rate it.
Okay.
We have the water from the well. We have the communist joke, which was the one joke that made the cut. Okay, I got mine.
I was trying to think, are there any other jokes in the whole movie? I guess like Clemenza makes a couple of wisecracks.
Makes some jokes.
I think that's probably the only time we hear like a group of people laughing.
Yeah,
like a joke.
When they're planning when Mikey first poses the idea of
killing
Galazzo
and McCluskey.
Clemenza or Tessio and Clemenza start laughing, and then Santino joins in.
What do you think? It's like the army.
One joke that fell flat was, "Oh, what are you? A dance judge?" But I think it's because no one heard it except for Paulie.
Yeah, and Paulie.
I won't see it now.
All right, let's rate this one. Ready?
I got it.
Okay, I got my rating.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, look at that.
5.
Oh, wait a minute.
I am going 5.
You slow played that.
I am going 5. I'm going 5.
I almost went 5.
Yeah, I'm going 5.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm going 5.
It's
so memorable.
It is memorable.
Just the look of the room.
Water from the well.
Communist. Don Corleone's in it.
It's
and
true.
He makes gestures and he's all
right, I'll go 5.
I'm not trying to sell it.
No, you did. Well, congratulations. You did sell me.
After all, you are a copyist.
So, all right, I guess that'll wrap up minute 130. So we'll be back next week. You can always find us at Fredo Corleone's Mickey Mouse Nightclub over on the Facebook. And if you want to send us an email, you can send us godfatherminute@gmail.com.
That's right.
And so, okay, we'll be back next week with minute 131. So until then... After all, we're not communists. Ha 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 ha.